Hi guys, I'm Joe Berardi and we're here with Hairbrained and Douglas McCoy from the House of Pop. We're here in Philadelphia at the Open Chair Studio by Scissor Candy. We're lucky enough tonight to have Douglas here. We're going to be doing a open chair event in downtown Philly at National Mechanics. Douglas will be teaching a 2-hour look and learn special for the special people that get to come down and see him. So today Douglas is doing a little cut for us. We brought him in so that he can share his talent. Doing a little razor cut for us here on a lovely model. What was your name?
Maddie.
Maddie. Mm-hmm. So Douglas, you're going to be working with some of the natural curl today as well?
Yeah, so Maddie and I talked earlier, and that's one thing that I stress so much is consultation. And so we chatted, we talked about what she liked, what she didn't like, what she was willing to do, what she wasn't willing to do, what her regimen is, just so I could start getting a vibe for who she is and what she's about. So we decided on a bob, which in my opinion is great because I'm about classic haircutting and I love bobs. So
Yeah, I think
we're going to keep it a bit long, but then what we're going to do is put a pretty strong fringe on her. That's because she has a great face. And I have this thing where it's like there's two things I have to see. I have to see cheekbones and I have to see a jawline. And so with her, that's what we decided to put on her, to open her face up, because she's just got such a great face.
I think that'll look great on her. She does.
Yeah. And it's like, she also blows it out. And so I wanted to make sure that she could blow dry it, that she could straighten it. So we're going to leave some length on there for that she can play with. But the consultation was the main bit.
And that's so important, especially not only for editorial stuff, but behind the chair as well.
Totally.
Just, it's where it's either going to be right or it's going to be wrong no matter what. Like
Yeah.
Consultations.
But she's
definitely
got
the
great
first part.
hair. The classics, people sometimes say, oh, we got to do this or we got to do that. And I want to keep it classic and clean, because that's where hairdressing is. Start with those classics and then make it modern. Make sure that you have a base for it.
So Douglas will be doing 2 models tonight on stage.
3
models, that's correct. I forgot about our updo as well. So 2 cuts and a style.
Style, yeah.
Which I think will be a lot of fun. And then afterwards, we're also going to be having 4 local guys from around the area that'll be cutting hair as well. Some great talent.
It's situations like this that it's cool, because you get together with all these people, and you get to work with them, you get to learn from them.
Douglas, we have a question here about the tension.
Yeah.
Any
Riley wants to know
What?
how much tension you're applying to each section.
Full tension. I don't have a death grip on it because I want the hair to be able to move, but you want to keep, especially with the razor, you want to keep it tight. As soon as you relax up, you lose all control over what you're doing and where that blade's going in. So keeping as much tension on it as possible, but again, I'm letting it move around a little bit. So I just keep it tight, and I just go in with the heel of the blade, heel on the left side, tip on the right. And the reason for that is, number 1, it's comfort. Number 2 is it keeps the majority of the blade away from my client, or whoever I'm working on.
The dog.
The dog.
Oh, we've known you doing it. Come on.
And I'm keeping it's damp, but it's not wet, because I want to be able to see what the reaction is, how much it's going to jump, what the curl pattern's doing. So I don't want it soaking wet, but I also don't want it dry. I want enough moisture in there that I can get it, the blade can still slide through.
But you can still see how it's going to react after it's cut.
I mean, hair like this is cool because it does have the curl, and everybody always wants to, straight. And I've been so into natural texture and what a person's natural hair is doing, to where they can let it air dry. Letting it air dry.
I think that goes back to what we were talking about last night a little bit at dinner, right?
Yeah.
Where we were talking about how, a few years ago it was just everything was so flat iron and so precision and so tight, but now, especially in today's hair, it's just so much more lived in and natural, and you're seeing the textures.
Right.
And that's where that razor's really coming into play, and you're really.
Well, and the razor is just a tool. Too many times I see people and they're just picking up a razor to use a razor. So they think it's cool or whatever. But, there's a tool for the job. It's like, if I need scissor, I'm going to use scissor. If I need clippers, I'm going to use clippers. But that's where that experience and the training comes in to know what you need. Otherwise, you're just grabbing at straws. But even behind the chair, I'm literally telling clients not to blow dry their hair. I'm letting them be okay with their natural texture.
Letting it do its thing.
Yeah.
Well, it makes their life so much easier.
It's more fun. I mean, the flat iron and all that stuff became an addiction, and then now the curling iron thing has become an addiction.
One extreme to the other.
I'm just beating Kelly up here.
I'd just like to take a minute and let everybody know if there's any questions at all, so please.
I love questions.
Fill them in.
Yeah. So I'm just
Go ahead. Just with the comb that you're using as well. Is there a reason why you're using such a?
Yeah, I don't want necessarily, and I'm probably going to switch when I get to her fringe, but I don't want to have it too tight.
Too tight, yeah. So that goes back into that.
If her hair was straighter, I'd probably use my favorite blue hair brand comb. But I mean, this is where things are going. Is going in, and you go in, you go to Sassoon, you go to Tony Guy, go to wherever you're going to train, and you learn technique. And technique is what allows you to do everything. And so you spend that time and learn technique, but then it's what you do with that technique. Where does it come into play? Where do I want graduation? Where do I want layering? What does each of those techniques do that allows you to go in and be, instead of just doing a haircut, doing something that's a little bit more original to who you're working on?
Actually cutting hair.
Yeah. Instead of just doing a haircut.
Yeah, and you definitely learn, those fundamentals are so key, learning the rules of what you're going to do, because so many people just kind of try to skip over that, and you can't.
Douglas, we noticed you're taking your layers and you're elevating them a little
Yep.
bit, and what's the point of that?
So I want to keep this soft. I'm going slightly longer on each section, but I'm also elevating just a little bit. Number one, it keeps it away from the client. To go in and just do such a harsh line here is going to make it way too boxy. It's not going to move. And so by elevating it out, but then actually dropping below my guide, so when I cut it, each section's actually getting longer, so that what happens is I still get that bob line, but when it falls soft. So. Did somebody ask that, or was that you? Okay.
We're getting some highs from Nashville, Georgia, and Buffalo.
Wow.
Dan James says hi.
That's awesome, guys. We also have a great team right here surrounding everybody, watching Douglas cut hair and hanging out in the studio.
A huge group.
We got
I thought it was just gonna be me. And I was like, oh, good, I got scored.
that's Philly love. Philly love. That's why we do what we do. We love that.
Philly is a great state for hairdressing.
We love hanging out and mixing with one another and seeing what
The
everybody
thing
else is doing.
it was like the history of Philly. This is my first trip to Philadelphia, and the history that's here is amazing. And not only that, but then you throw in, it's such a great hair town. It's just such great hairdressers and salons, and the fact that they're actually swallowing their ego and working together and playing together is just so cool to see.
It is quite refreshing.
So by elevating, like I said, I still get that. I get that bounce and that spring, instead of just trying to cut it so blunt.
You can see it starting to curl.
So I'm over directing right at the back of the ear because I want to keep that weight. So when I finish with this, it's literally going to sit right there on the top of her shoulder. But I'm going in classically. I'm still going in as if I was going to do a classic bob with scissors. Nothing's changed. The only thing that's changed is the tool.
Are you going to switch tools throughout the cut? Or are you
I
sticking-
really, I don't know yet. You know, that's the biggie. During a consultation, and I find this especially with students, is when you go in and you try to get it, this is what I'm doing. You know, it was back
Lost
like when
yourself.
I was an assistant, and even after I finished up, it was, I mean, whatever haircut I was doing was verbatim. Like,
Yeah.
it didn't matter who I was doing it on. And
Well, it goes back into what we were just saying.
Yeah,
You
it's-
learn-
it's-
doing the
it's-
haircut, right?
yeah, so
Yeah.
now it's like I can go in and I still use that as a base, but if I need to switch something up, depending on what the hair is doing, I allow myself to do that.
The ability to switch out the tool or
Yeah,
switch
you
out
don't want to get so into it that all of a sudden it's like,
forcing
that's it. You know, and you know, I heard a story a while back from a buddy of mine. He was saying that, you know, when he was after his training, whatever haircut he did, that's what he did. You know, you got it.
You went, you got
And he was getting high fives in the break room, but yet the client looked horrible. You know, because that's how he was trained to do that
Just
haircut.
do the haircut, not
So it's
actually
like putting your own
suitability.
signature onto it, and you know what the client needs. That's the biggie.
I think that's great. I mean, you got to be able to just pick up the next tool if it's not
Yeah.
working or it's not going, and change directions. Go into a different direction and go with the flow or the feel of it, because
You know, you can set yourself. The consultation sets that kind of roadmap, but then after that, it's allowing for the fun.
Yeah.
And to be hairdressers and not just auto mechanics.
let your personality come out in the cut
Yeah.
that you're doing. I mean, that's
And let her personality come out.
well, yeah.
Douglas,
Yes.
Paula wants to know if this cut will be suitable to wear straight as well as natural.
Yes. And yes. Yes.
Where's it?
Where's camera? And the reason why is because she does flat iron it, and that was actually part of the consultation. Is I want to make sure that she can wear this straight, and we decided on a length, and I already pre-warned her. I said we're using your curl, so it's going to sit up shorter than what you're looking for when it's straight, and that was so important, so that she knew, sitting here looking in the mirror, that it was going to look shorter than what we had talked about. But she's got such great texture. I want to use it. But yeah, I want to make sure that straight, curly, up, down.
Well, actually, Doug, I got a question
Amazing.
because you just said talking about texture, and I think that's something that's very, very important with a lot of consultations and haircuts. Because growing up in a field of hairdressing, one of the things my father always taught me, and I always kind of stuck with me, is looking at the textures as a fabric.
Yeah.
And trying to figure it out. And I think one of the best ways you can kind of describe it to a client is almost like, okay, well, show me this picture of this cut, but yet she has hair that's like silk and your hair is cotton.
Mhm.
If I try to make you a dress that's, you know, you see the silk dress, I try to make it out of cotton, it's not going to work, you know?
It's so important to have those conversations with your client. And you know, like when I'm behind the chair, my haircuts only take about 20 minutes, but my consultation can be 30,
Yeah,
40
exactly.
minutes. And so explaining that to them, I think is something seriously that's missing right now. Hairdressers have forgotten how to educate behind the chair, and having those conversations with your clients, and all of a sudden your clients are going, oh my God, nobody's told me that. Nobody's talked to me about that. And it's having that being honest with them. Say, here's why this won't work. It doesn't mean we can't do it, but it just means that we're going to change how we're going to do it.
Yeah, and they're going to have to work more or
Yeah.
less, or what they're going to have to do with it.
You know, when clients bring in these styles to me, and I'm all about setting. I wet sets. And again, it's going back to those classics. And so clients will bring in pictures of the magazines that's obviously a set.
Right.
And they want to air dry it. And it's like, it's not going to
It's not
happen.
gonna work for you, so-
But you have to have the balls to be honest with your client and not just try to be the yes guy.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not that you have to say no, but you have to explain to them why it's a no. That's huge.
Absolutely. So with that being said, what kind of texture of hair does she have?
Is it like more like?
What is your nationality? Like, where are you from? Like, nationality-wise?
Like Pennsylvania Dutch and like German.
German? Okay. So it's thick, it's
Yeah.
coarse. It almost feels like a cross between
Oh, wow.
Asian and Italian.
It did
But
look,
it's
yeah,
Italian with the
dense,
curl,
yeah.
but it's Asian with the amount of
The
hair that
density
she
of
has.
gas. Yeah, exactly.
So I'm actually going in. Number one, my first goal right now is to get the base in here, to get that actual base shape.
Structure to it.
Once I have that, then I can kind of allow myself to see what it's doing and make those signature pieces or those, you know, the personality in the haircut. Right now it's just the base.
Let the
But I'm
hair
going to be going in and I'm taking weight out of this section right here.
Dred says he sees a lot of HBA nominees in this room.
Who said that?
Gerard.
There you are, Gerard. Gerard's hiding from me.
So now, as with the density of this, as you're going through it, I know like you're removing the weight now, but
Yeah.
were you opening up that stroke a little bit more as you were cutting that base?
Yeah,
line, as
so
you're coming
each
higher?
section, the first few, super tight. I
Right.
want to get that line in there. I want to get that base in
That
there.
base really strong.
And then as I'm going up the head, my stroke's loosening up so that the hair through here, through the curve of the head, can loosen, and I can watch it play and move. All that's great stuff. She also has these great short bits around the front that we've already talked about and we're going to use because those are those pieces. And you know, when I'm traveling around, because I do a bunch of work with R & Co and those guys, and we've been on tour, but you know, one of my mentor, Howard McLaren, one thing that he's been doing that I just love is when a girl tucks her hair behind her ear, this bit right here, for some reason, everybody wants to leave with the length.
yeah.
And you know, the length's coming from her ear. So this is play space. This is stuff that falls around her face or falls on her jawline. So what I want to do is give her a piece that when she tucks it, she has this great piece right here. And it's giving them those extra things and not
That
just
extra little
having it
piece
be
to
a,
it.
you know, a helmet. You know, just allowing those bits to move. And especially if you're photographing your work. If you're photographing it, well, those bits are what makes the photo.
What gives it more of that versatility of the style and as you're
Yeah,
photographing
that's-
it too,
that's-
just to give you a little bit more
That's what makes
openness and
makes the hair move and do all this great
Lived
stuff.
in.
Yeah.
you can already see it starting to come alive a little bit. And
Yeah, it's just
Ready.
loosened up the shape.
And one of the things too, I saw when I've now seen Douglas do 3 or 4, maybe 5 consultations today.
Oh, yeah.
And we've gone through a couple different models and stuff. And one of the things that I noticed and I just love because you don't see it enough is when somebody's doing the consultation, moving the hair, lifting the hair, playing with the hair. I feel like a lot of people they just kind of sit there and go, "What do you want?" They look at a photo from Instagram and they're like, "Okay." You know,
It's-
but you
It's separating.
Play with it for 20
it's-
minutes.
Yeah, it's separating your consultation from just being a "What are we gonna do? I want a bob. Okay, let's go shampoo you."
Yeah.
To then there's those people that will sit with them and they have these great conversations and that's good. But if you're not actually moving the hair around,
Playing with it.
seeing what's in there, seeing what the growth patterns are, watching their facial
That's what I was
expressions.
just about to say because you totally
You
did.
you can
lift it up and their face goes white. You go, "Okay, we're not going short."
It's always said that hairdressers are the most dangerous people in the world, and the reason why is because you can put them in any situation, from a punk rock show to a high society dinner, and they'll blend. They'll find a way to actually blend in with everybody else to
chameleon.
where you can do anything. And that's literally with that consultation is reading people and, you know, learning. You drop the hair, you're like, "Oh, I'm thinking," and you watch their face. They'll tell you yes or no without you even.
twice today, maybe 3
Yeah.
times.
So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to switch. I want a scissor on this, and the reason why is because it's so curly and she has all these amazing growth patterns that I don't want to have to put too much tension on it. And if I cut it with a razor, it's going to put way too much tension. It's going to spring too much.
Wait.
So I'm actually going to.
And then you'll switch the comb out as well, or are you gonna go with something a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this I can actually keep it cleaner. I'm just going to take this whole bit.
And now, just for, you know,
I'm going to cut it long, which is just something I tend to do as a safety feature, is I'm going to cut it long and I'm going to look at it.
see what.
Don't think that just because you pulled a section down and you cut it there that that's where it's supposed to be. Nowadays, it's like allow yourself that freedom to say, "Oh, I'll try this, see if that works."
Well, it's like sketching.
Because you
right?
don't, yeah, you don't.
sketch that line in and then
Before you go hard?
Before you go the hard
Yeah.
line, yeah.
So I'm gonna start bringing this length up and really looking at it. I'm watching this guy like crazy. He's a jumper.
I think one of the keys too, I was watching with your sectioning as well.
Yes.
You know, I mean, number one, your sectioning super clean, super precision, and but you're really working with that head shape too. And, you know, even the lines of that bob and, you know, working off the round in there, finding that bang section.
If you don't take, that's one thing I'm a stickler on, and I'm sure some of my staff are watching. I'm a stickler on clean sections. Because if you go in and you're just getting sloppy and you're just taking sections and thinking, oh, this is the length I wanted, you're grabbing hair from places it just shouldn't be. So take those clean sections, be precise, be, you know, clean with everything. That's huge. Because if you, sorry guys, that was my fault.
Madison from House of Pop is tuned in.
Maddie.
Uh-oh.
Oh no, that's Madison. Oh, Madison.
Madison.
Yeah, nice.
Hi, Madison.
Madison works my front desk.
Oh, nice.
How cool is it to have your front desk actually in? I think my front desk probably is involved in like every single class in one form or another.
Well, actually, that's a great point just for salon owners in general. And
Don't leave your front desk out.
Because when you get, I mean, number one, they need to know how to find the client and go with the right hairdresser too. So if
Yes.
they understand who the hairdresser is and what kind of style they have, or look at and
Yeah.
read them and be able to match that whole thing together too.
And that's
right?
one
I mean,
thing, and we talked about this too. Is you know, when I started House of Pop, it was out of frustration that number one, I need a place to work, but number two is like traveling all over the country and seeing these salons that I was like, no wonder people are pissed off because they just didn't have that. They were just being there's too much structure.
Put
You
no
want
box,
structure.
right?
You want structure in your work, but you don't want structure in who you are. So I want a salon full of individuals. I want a salon where people feel comfortable to dress the way they are and basically form their own brand underneath, you know, the House of Pop brand. So it's like if you're a punk rock girl, I want you a punk rock girl. I don't want you to, you know, we don't have a dress code. Our dress code is don't look like crap, you know. So stick with that. Everybody's happy.
Well, it also helps too because the client sitting in the chair knows kind
Yeah.
of what they're going to get out of that.
And what's really funny is you would think
Individuality.
like the most conservative clients would pick the most conservative hairdressers, but they don't, because they're curious about that. So they'll tend to go. The conservative clients will go to the more aggressive.
A little more edgy, yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny to see the dynamic. But you know, at the salon, we focus on, again, classic hairdressing. So whatever that is, whether it's setting, whether it's classic haircuts, whether it's classic customer service, we really focus on that. We don't shake hands, we hug. We when you call the salon, it's the phone's answered in a, like your best friend just called you on your cell phone, and you're like, hey, what's up? You know, it's keeping it still very professional, but still very
More
relaxed.
It's almost like a family.
Yeah.
And that's I think huge. You
That's
know? And
how
people
I
love
want-
that feeling when they get
Sorry.
they come in to the salon and they feel like
Yeah.
they're at home. You know, it's like
But go back to that, and you know, a lot of people, I'm kind of known for my branding, and part of that branding is that do what everybody else isn't. If everybody else is doing, you know, razor cuts, go back to a more structured. If everybody else is doing TV commercials, do what the bands do and put up flyers all over town. I mean, don't do what nobody else is doing, and you'll get recognized for it. It's harder, but you'll
harder.
definitely get recognized for it. I know I'm going to cut her crown, but I want to get a little bit of this excess off. So I'm just literally going to go in and just remove this, just because I don't need it. And the other thing, especially like
doing nice
with how
bees
we're
there too,
yeah,
right?
well,
like really good.
what I'm doing is it looks like I'm pushing the blade into the hair, but I'm not. I'm letting the weight of the blade take the hair off. So I'm literally not putting any pressure on it whatsoever. If I push on the blade, I'm going to remove too much hair. That's when you get the, oh, sorry, it'll grow back. But, you know, but this way it's just using with the weight of the blade and just dragging down, and I'm actually cutting the weight and length off at the same time.
Now, also, while you're going in there and you're kind of, as you're taking that weight removal, I know a lot of times with me, you know, as I come through, depending on which way I'm taking it, to that short to push as long or follow as long, so how that haircut's going to swing.
Yeah.
You know, so are you using it in the front here to swing it back, or are we pushing it to come forward a little bit more? Each kind
Really neither. I'm
Neither?
just trying to get the
get
weight
rid of that.
off
Okay.
of there. That is such a huge point to remember, and if I was going in and cutting inversions into it,
Yes.
then yes, I'd be very, but all I'm doing right now is just trying to get the
Just
weight
trying to
out.
get that out of there. Okay, great, great.
So now what I'm going to do is
Well,
I'm
before
gonna
we do that, we're having some people freak out about the no cape. People be getting wild. Listen, it was part of the consultation, and
Yeah.
Well, I'd like
Maddie's-
to see how it's coming alive on her. You know, you wanna
No,
see-
I'm really glad people are freaking out about it, because on my YouTube, that's like the #1 question, because I don't put capes on any of the girls on my films. The reason why I don't put a cape on them is because #1, I want to see them. I want to see where the shoulders are. I want to see where the neckline is. I want to see where the collarbone is. I want to see where their hips are. I want to see them. And if I have a cape on them, they're basically a head on a stick, right?
Bobble doll.
Yeah, so because in a salon situation, yes, I have a cape on them. If I could get a see-through cape, it would make my life so much more happy.
Well, they have the ones with the window now where the client can play
no.
with their cell phone.
No, they do that enough on their own. But no cape in a situation like this just looks better.
Yeah.
Especially on camera. So no, I don't put a cape on any of my models. So I hope that answers everybody's question why. So what I'm doing is I'm taking weight and I'm just working my way out to the length.
better angle.
Yeah. Yeah, right over. Oh, she's spinner. That's that. Is that good? Then you can get everybody in the background. So what I'm doing is cutting it on the curve, so I'm not over directing it up. That would make it square. I'm actually going with the curve so that when this falls, I still get some graduation. Without affecting all my other stuff.
Now,
There. So then I'm just going to go in, take weight out, and take my length off. Take weight out, take my weight out. That's what's great about a razor, though, is that I can see it's like instant gratification. What did I take off? Too many times I see people cutting with razor and they don't even look at their hands.
No, they're not
it's
seeing
like
what-
check yourself. You know, check, see what you did. But I'm basically pivoting off this center on her head so that all the weight is going to be distributed evenly. So I'm not trying to cut it square.
I think what's important as well too, which a lot of people always tend to forget, or you know, they're watching your tension and how you're doing it, and we're all in here. But I think one of the other things, if you actually just look at the way Douglas is standing too, I mean, his elbows up, holding the section correctly, you know, your body position straight, like those things. Longevity of cutting hair too, right?
Again, any of my staff that's watching, they know the same thing. Is I'll walk up behind them and lift that elbow up.
I just
You know, it's like, come on, guys. #1, it keeps you on track. Keeps you, what do they call it? The ballet dancers on point.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, absolutely.
Keeps you there, focused. You're square. Everything's. It's still, again, classic. It's not getting sloppy and just trying to be cool with it. It's just your body has to be there.
And it goes, I mean, unfortunately, in the industry, I mean, statistically speaking, you know, a small percentage makes it a long time in the business.
Yeah.
And then even less because, you know, back problems,
sloppy.
carpal tunnel, those kind of, which can all be counterbalanced if you cut hair correctly and you're holding your sections right.
Thank you. Yeah, and so learn those foundations, practice it, get your body doing the things it's supposed to be doing, and then go in and use your artistic license. You
All
know,
right, looks like
that's-
we're getting into something good here.
Yeah, so these are those bits. She already has them. Whoever cut it, it was a great haircut. But I'm gonna come in. Oh, you're welcome. It's a great haircut. How they came in was to shape it around her face. And what I want to do instead of, which is great if we bring it forward, a lot of times that will tend to want to push back. So I'm going to come in and actually push this from the bottom forward so she has that cool little piece. Here, work. There we go. So I'm having tilt all the way ahead. And what I did was I combed it and I used where her hair naturally wants to break. I don't argue with Mother Nature. That's a huge thing. If Mother Nature says this is where you're going to break, that's where we take the section. Same with fringe, all of that.
Never gonna change gravity, right?
No. So I'm just coming in from the back, and I'm just going to work that bit in so that it sits a little bit more into a point. I came in, to me that looks a little square, so I'm actually going to over direct it back, come up a little higher on the ear, try not to cut myself on national TV. There we go.
That's all right.
Yeah,
Her hair's ready. Well,
yeah,
it's fine.
that's much
Nothing
cooler.
long you have to worry about.
But see, now I got this guy. Now I know she straightens her hair, so I want to cut short, but we're getting like this goofy bit. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at this curl pattern. It's like, now I can cut it tight, and it would literally take care of all of it. I could cut it down here. I don't want to cut it here because it's going to flip out. I can cut it here because it's starting to work its way back in. But I think that if I go in and just literally take that out, and I'm using the flat of the blade, not the edge, and I'm just going to start making that go away.
And that was a super, super open stroke.
Yeah, just big stroke, flat of the blade, so I diffuse it and it goes away. It's still there. If I comb it, it's all still there, but it just makes it disappear.
All shattered out. Really nice.
So not only as this grows out, will it not affect her? No, all of a sudden you get like, if you're going with scissors, you have this like harsh line. This way it just goes away. So when it grows out, it grows in with everything else.
Yeah. So excited.
We have a couple of razor questions.
Yes.
One is, which razor are you using?
Mine.
And the other one is that razoring is Emilio's struggle, and what are your tips on how to stand or hand position?
Okay, so two-part question. Let's hit the first part. Razor I'm using is a feather. It's a feather razor.
Feather razor.
The reason it looks so different is because I spray painted the handle, because I'm sick of black and feather won't make me interchangeable handles.
We're working on that.
So we all started, literally spray painting the handles because we're bored. You go to a lot of different places to learn razor cuts, and they're so adamant about you have to use a guardless razor, right? And I'm like, that's such crap, because there's nothing wrong with using a guard. If you need a guard, use a guard. And the big thing with learning razor is your stroke and your sections and why you're using the razor. Once you start figuring that out, then you can start playing, but you got to get that foundation. There's lots of places to go get that foundation. You can go to LBP Studios in Miami. You can go to Arrojo. You can go to Bumble. Tony and Guys does great razor work.
Wait,
So go to
hold on
those.
that real quick.
Oh,
My God!
ruined the
Jeez,
whole
shit.
thing.
Aren't you supposed to look at it when you're done cutting
did.
it? Isn't that what?
I did.
You did, but they didn't see it.
You're not cooking it.
Just wanted to show how really open and shattered that was and soft.
I might be doing it again, actually. So
We'll see. Well, if you do, it's very, very light, Mary. Well, I think also that with that question referring to the razor, I mean, you really have to nail down the scissors, I feel like,
Yeah.
with this, which comes in with the sectioning and the body positioning.
Yeah,
And then it's just kind of like you're cutting on top of the hand instead of underneath, right?
Yep. It's just more free.
Unless you're Lee and you cut underneath the hand as well, but.
Oh, I'll kill myself. I'll end up in the hospital. I'm gonna take this out here so you can kind of give everybody another view at it.
Yeah, it's
So I'm coming in with the flat of the blade. I'm not on the edge. And that's the other thing, is a lot of people with the razor will only cut on the flat. And what you're doing is you're just diffusing the line out. So you're basically using thinning shears until they're gone. So you have no edge. If that's what you need for that look, cool. But if it's not, and you actually need a line, you have to turn the blade on its edge. That's a big part of it. So I'm just going in here, bringing this, over directing the section behind the ear, again, because I want to maintain that length. So I'm over directing back, again, classic hairdressing. And I'm just gonna go in and remove that bit. We get a little bit more water on that. The most dangerous place to put your razor is in your pocket. That's why I always do it. So if you want to send yourself to the hospital,
It's a great
always put your razor in your pocket. Especially when you're live on camera. So smart. So again, I'm just over directing this back. It was too dry, so I didn't get as clean of a line. I'm using it's a wide stroke, but it's still somewhat short so that I actually get that edge. And then I'm going to over direct this back as well. There's my guide. I'm still using guides. I'm still using everything you normally would with a pair of scissors. I'm just using a different tool. That's a big part. So,
You got one of your moms going back up?
Yeah, you can really see the change starting to
yeah.
take place
The
here.
thing is that what I want out of this is for her to look great. That's it.
Well, that's
And
that's what we want to do.
you know,
right?
I
We want everybody to
don't
be-
want to do a quote unquote, you know, I don't want you guys high-fiving me when I'm done because wow, that haircut was great. Don't check my haircuts. Like anybody, don't check my haircuts because they're horrid. But when they're done, they're cut to fit who I'm putting it on. I'm not cutting them to be this great. Wow, did you see that line? It was so precise. It's like that's not me.
I think we were talking about it last night, actually, right? I mean, we were talking about how that precision aspect of learning the actual haircut and
Yeah.
then switching over to just starting to use your visuals and allowing disconnection to work,
Yeah.
where technically it may not be sound, but yet
But it
Visually
works for them.
right? Exactly. Yeah.
You know, I want her again to look great, and whether she blow dries it or air dries it. Sorry. I don't know if people know that clients' heads move.
So does the chair too.
Right? Yeah, the chair goes up and
Yeah,
down and,
and around,
spins.
yeah.
And it's so important. I mean, I'm able to kind of work around and stuff, but you'll notice that if I need to cut a bit, I'm not going to keep her hand. I can't get my hand in there. I'm going to sit on her. So if you actually move their head, they'll let you do it.
Yeah.
It's really cool. if you
Well, and
try
it goes back to too, as the same thing.
moving her head allows you to stand more comfortably,
Yeah.
keep your positions a little bit better, rather than, you know, you getting uncomfortable. They're only here for a half hour, right? You're here all day.
Yeah. So I'm just making sure that what I'm cutting, I can see it. And I'm literally started in on watching what her hair is doing and adjusting. She's got this bit here that was just laying a bit clumpy. I didn't take off any length. That was just weight. It's right here.
Yeah.
Right? So because I saw that bit and it was clumpy, I'm going in and I'm going to take that weight out first, being very mindful of her color.
So she said,
Because
are you
it's-
picking out on the color?
Yeah, because you know, if you work in a salon where you've got colorists and cutters, I only cut hair. So it means all my girls are going in and doing my colors, you
Yeah.
know, on those clients. And if I cut out their color, oh my
yeah.
God.
You're hearing about it in the
They're gonna
background.
lose their mind. I just spent 3 hours on that balayage and now it looks like, oh God, it's horrible. So I'm literally taking a look at it. She's got this little corner bit up here, but I'm looking in and it's solid. When I look through it, everything is even, right? So that's where that weight's coming from. A lot of times you'll see like one spot. But I'm just bringing it up and taking that weight out. But there's her length that just dropped out. And I'm not cutting here on the outside of the section because if that falls, now I've layered
Get
it.
off. Yeah, it's all frizzy.
And so- yeah, and I don't want to layer this. It just ever so
Just
lightly.
allow it to kind of collapse.
And that's all I'm taking out. This is that little bit. And it allows it, just by taking that weight out, will allow it to jump just enough.
Come back to life a little bit. Give it a parking spot, right? Because in Philly it's hard to park, so you gotta open her up.
I'm loving her natural texture and everything, but what I'm doing is I'm combing it with how her hair grows, right? I'm not forcing it into something. I'm literally watching it. I'm seeing if there's anything that's going to be goofy or anything. I still think I'm just a bit heavy here. So now that I've taken the weight out and I'm still seeing that heaviness, that just means that that corner's got to come off. Because that's the guy that's doing it, right?
Right.
Now I gotta figure out which pocket. I
No,
put my
yeah,
blade in
careful with it.
without
Don't miss
cutting-
the thumb.
without
Don't miss
cutting
the thumb.
myself.
So wait, it goes back to
Fundamentals then, right? You're saying the corner's gonna come off, so you're taking that corner off, and you're actually gonna
You're
layer
not
it,
gonna-
because layering,
Layers.
wait,
Layer, yeah, you know, those are the big things, and I have these conversations, and we're going to have this conversation tonight for anybody that's coming. But it's like, what does layering do? What does graduation do?
Yes.
What does a one length actually do? And once you learn those, that's haircutting. You know,
mix and match anything you want, create anything you want.
If I want something to collapse, I'm going to layer it. If I want to build something up, I'm going to graduate.
Yeah, exactly.
My buddy DJ Muldoon says something, and I'm not stealing it from him, that's why I'm giving him credit, but it's probably literally changed my life just a couple years ago, because he says, pull away from what you want to keep. I was just like, it was so simple, and a lot of times, most of the time, the simple things always work. That's a biggie. The simple things always work. Don't overcomplicate it. First thing I'm gonna do, like when you break down a haircut, is I'm gonna go the simplest form. What is it? It's a bob, it's a shag, it's a graduated bob, it's an A-line, it's a long layer, what kind of layer. You know, those are the things you have to know about. And it just makes your work life a whole lot easier.
Yeah, it's really coming alive here.
Yeah, I'm loving this. But literally, this is where the fun starts. All the rest of the stuff is just setting myself up
Building that
to
structure.
where I can go in and go, okay, I don't like that bit, I don't like that bit. I move it around. I don't comb. You notice I'm not like, you know, doing that. It's like I'll move it because that's what her hair does.
Well, that's what it's gonna do on a daily
You can
basis,
comb
right?
it all you want to. It's just like, you know, a great blow dry will make a shitty haircut look amazing. You know?
Yeah, we were talking about it last
Yeah,
night.
yeah.
And you said one of the things that I thought was interesting is you said you mandatory 3 looks, right?
3 looks.
3 looks before they leave the
My
salon.
team gives every client 3 looks. It's an air dried, it's a toss dry, and it's a blowout. And sometimes it's 4, maybe then we'll put it up. But that client, not only does the hairdresser have to know what the hair is going to do in all those states, but the client needs to know what that looks like.
So they can get
That's hairdressing. That's getting back to the root of what hairdressers are and do. You know, the 70s and 80s killed it because all of a sudden we were doing, you know, all this quick, get them in, get them out, and we weren't educating the clients. And then what happened was the 90s come along and it's the return of the blowout. So the hairdressers start blow drying hair, and what was the thing you always heard? Oh, I wish I could do my hair like you did. And then the hairdresser would stand there and go, yeah, right. Yeah. And it's like, that's not cool. Like if my client can't do their hair,
Well, it's your work walking around every day, right? So you want it to look the best it can look.
if my
I mean,
client cannot do their hair the way I did it, I didn't teach them. It's my fault. And that's a huge thing to get hairdressers back into is, you know, it's like people are like, I want to be an educator. And I said, you should be an educator 10 times a day.
I'm loving these bits
Right?
coming alive in here.
You know,
You
those
can just see
yeah,
it's
those
just
are
so
those are
great.
the ones that
Just really, I mean,
they
the editorial piece to that,
they
it's just
make it.
beautiful. Yeah.
So if I decide, if we're gonna shoot this and I decide to pull all this over, I got a whole nother haircut.
Yeah.
You know,
So
that's
many
cool.
bucks.
Or I can actually pin all this up and have that become the point, where instead of the point being way down here,
Yeah.
I can do anything with
Hi,
this.
Douglas. So, what are you thinking about now when you're? Are you still continuing? You thinking about wrapping up?
Yeah, I don't know how much time I got. I can do this all day. Yeah, that's the
Well,
thing.
you're gonna be doing it all day.
Yeah, I know.
We got,
I haven't been doing it all day. I haven't been doing it
We've
all
been here
day.
all day, we got the show
Yeah,
tonight.
right now I'm just going through and I'm just using my hands. I used to be, and I'm not going to plug because I'm not getting you know, I used to be a product junkie. It was like all the products I could put into the hair, right?
Yeah.
It was like, oh, put this in there, put that in there. And what was great about it is it taught me what the products did, why they worked, what was working, why was I using that product, what did it make the hair do, by going crazy. And I've found, especially since I've been working with the Arnco boys, especially Garen, is how little product I actually need.
Yeah.
How just going in, picking what's right, instead of throwing everything in there, just picking what's right. But I want the hair to move. I want the hair to respond.
we lived in.
Yeah. So I'm literally just taking my hands and I'm twisting it. I'm working. You want to come on this side? Let's kind of see. This is pretty. I like this curl pattern. You could just leave it. The thing is it looks like it was left. So if I just go in and twist a bit, and this is where old school, setting comes in play. Is I can go in and actually do a set, and I'm not separating this out. I'm doing it all in one twist, so that when I loosen it, I get this, and it's just a much more solid curl. Now everybody wants, their wash and go. Clients are kind of getting back into that. Oh, I just want to wash and wear, and it's like you still got to work it. You still got to put product in it. You still have to control the fuzz. You still have to control the flyaways. You have to control how much volume do you want, how little volume you want. There's no such thing as a wash and go unless you want to look like you washed and went. But there is such a thing as waking up and walking out the door. Now, if you can do a good enough style to where that client wakes up in the morning, shakes it out, a little dry shampoo,
And
they walk out the door. That's a 5-minute morning. That client is never going
Well, that's a
anywhere
great way to
else.
start the day, right?
Yeah, it's like, wait a minute, I can just do that. It's like, yeah, just throw this in there, give it a squeeze, and walk out the door.
Right, awesome.
That's what we want. That's actually
So
great.
it seems like now we've hit about, besides, gonna do any more cutting or?
No, I don't think so.
No, I think, let's go.
Awesome. So we'll take a couple of finished shots
Yeah.
and then we'll post
Any
them
other
up on the
questions,
feed.
or are people just spacing out? over there?
Yeah, it's good. We will catch up with you on the comments.
Oh, sweet.
Awesome.
So we'll see
Are
you
we leaving?
tonight, Joe.
We're leaving?
Yeah, we'll see you
Okay.
guys tonight. Hopefully you guys can come out and see Douglas, and if not, you'll be able to check him out on scissorcandy.com.
Yeah, guys, make
See
sure
the
that
videos, and we'll be playing around with some of the other stuff. And some of
Yeah.
these boys will be on stage tonight as well. So,
and thanks Hairbrain for coming and hanging out with us.
yeah, it's
They're
great
always
to have you
a
guys
huge
again.
support.
Thank you for your support.
But yeah, that's it. So let's go take some pictures. Stand up and knock all that hair off you.
Shake it off.